and they will regulate the system. They are getting it back to smooth sailing. That's the kind of airplane you want to be on, right? Well, the same is for us. Our bodies, we do not want to be in a body. Our body's the airplane. We are the pilot. Our mindset, our focus, our attention, and our awareness. If you didn't know, you're the pilot of your own life. Newsflash. But in all honesty, it's like your soul, your spirit does not want to be in a body where the pilot, your conscious awareness, does not know how to regulate your emotional system. Welcome to the Penthouse Frequency. I'm your host, Carla Elizondo, licensed psychotherapist and mindset coach. Here we explore personal development, spiritual awareness, emotional sobriety, and the tools that help you regulate so you can live from the inside out. We're not here to bypass life. We're here to alchemize it. No more basement thinking and feeling. It's all about the penthouse, baby. Let's dive in. Another week, another episode. Here we go, y'all. We're going to jump right in. This episode is all about regulation, emotional regulation, and nervous system regulation, really. What I find is people who are goal achievers, go-getters, they love the law of attraction, manifestation, creating their reality, just mindful living, right? You understand that that's a very powerful way to intentionally live, practicing mindfulness. And if you're listening to this podcast, clearly you're into developing yourself, personal, spiritual development. But along that journey, as we try to move from one state to another, when we're trying to up level, the one thing that I see, myself primarily, that is missing in this law of attraction manifestation world is regulating your nervous system. Most people are approaching goals, the law of attraction, all this stuff from a dysregulated nervous state. They are a mess. They are emotionally chaotic. They're desperate. They're nervous. And that's why this whole, personal development gets a bad rap. And a lot of people they're in fight and flight. They are just emotionally dysregulated. So we're going to go over in this episode today how to regulate so you can receive. Regulate to receive. It's all about emotional regulation, nervous system stability, and really the science of attraction, okay? So first things first, if your nervous system is chaotic, your life will feel chaotic, period. I think that's a very easy concept to grasp. If your nervous system, meaning how you feel in your body, you're wired, it's hard to calm down, it's hard to rest and relax, you haven't been getting good sleep, you're always anxious, amped up, maybe you've been drinking too much coffee, but really, your nervous system, when you feel chaotic, maybe you don't know what your nervous system feels like, but if your emotions feel chaotic, your life will feel chaotic. It's just a mirror. Remember, our outside world is just a reflection of the inside world. As within, so without. And on the other hand, if your nervous system is regulated, if your emotions are calm for the most part, your life begins to stabilize. When you're just more emotionally stable, more than you're not, life begins to just click and fall into place. Just by hearing that, it's true. Maybe it's been a long time, especially if you've been getting out of your comfort zone. I fall into this all the time. And thank God I have people who are around me that love me and they're here to point out, Carla, because I think I'm oh my God, I'm going crazy. I'm relapsing. I'm doing all this. And they're like, you're doing a lot. You're getting out of your comfort zone. And although, my mind will fight that and be like, no, but I should be doing better. It's whenever you push up against an edge, like a personal edge, when you are getting out of your comfort zone, when you're growing, when you're learning, when you're striving, your system will, yes, very much so, get dysregulated. And it's not about not getting dysregulated. It's about knowing how to bring it back to a calm, centered state. Really, it's about emotional recalibration. What kind of tools do you like to use? Mindfulness, grounding tools. Is it 4 square breathing, where you take a deep breath and count to 4? When you get to the top, you hold that breath in for 4. Then you release it for 4. And then you hold it empty for 4. There are different breathing exercises, or the alternate nostril breathing. I think we talked about a couple sessions ago. There's many different grounding techniques that you can use, but it's about that recalibration. I have really great EFT guided recalibration audios. I think they're a part of the Vibration and Frequency Masterclass. I'll leave a link below. It's just a little extra bonus that's a part of that masterclass. So if you're interested, check out the link below. But I use EFT tapping. That is one of my biggest emotional regulation techniques. And so I encourage you to find one that works for you, because when we are trying to manifest or reach our goals, we don't manifest from our vision board. We really manifest from our nervous system. Of course, the vision board helps that we can get those visuals into our field of vision and get those into our subconscious mind and get emotionally involved with it. But if we're sitting there looking at our vision board, getting emotionally involved when our baseline of our nervous system is out of whack, or our emotions are out of whack, and we're anxious and we're worried and, we're just not in a calm state, what do you think we're going to manifest? We're going to manifest the emotions, not what we're looking at. It's the emotions. And so we don't want to muddy our visualizations with anxiety. And that's why it's so important to really take care of your emotional state. It's practicing mindfulness. It's taking a moment to slow down instead of the go, 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 just checking in with your body. How do you feel? Doing that breathing exercise, going for the walk, taking a moment, like even if you're at work, having to escape in the bathroom stall and do some 4-square breathing, or tapping, EFT tapping, like I mentioned. And neuroscience shows that in stressed states, that part of your brain responsible for clear thinking and long-term planning, it becomes less active. Like the part of us that can problem solve and see things clearly, or even more positive, it's totally offline. And that animal lizard brain is just going bananas. It's like that alarm system, that amygdala has scared off the wise owl, that prefrontal cortex, and the alarm bells are going off again. We don't feel safe. And that's what the neuroscience has been showing, that when we're in stressed states, those parts of our brain that help us think clearly and make a plan that works, it becomes less active. And then we become more reactive instead of really being strategic. How many times do you act out of fear and, you're just reactive? You're like a ticking time bomb. And we know people who are like that in our lives. It feels dysregulating to be around them. People who have experienced trauma, in their lives, especially when they're kids, they're just jumpy. It's like their nervous system is wired, always looking out for danger, obviously. I mean, all of our systems are, but people who have that muscle memory of always being on edge, like my mom is extremely jumpy. I used to be like that. I can still be. And people that I know in my life who have experienced trauma, they're just like very easily startled, like that startle response. That is when our body is just perceiving or expecting a threat. And it's for prolonged periods of being in a dysregulated state is really what it is. And we are just reactive, right? We're just very reactive. And a dysregulated body produces distorted thoughts. So when we stay in that state, that reactive state, that dysregulated state for long periods of time, our body will start to produce distorted thoughts. Like we talked about in the emotional sobriety episodes, when we are in the emotional basement, so to speak, like the lower frequencies. Again, not to shame ourselves, life will happen. This is not about high vibes only. We will have all the vibes, all the feels, all the emotions. It's where do we choose to dwell? However, when we are in those states of feeling dysregulated, this is not to say the goal is to have a completely regulated body and mind 24/7. That's impossible. It's when our body does get dysregulated, when we do get emotionally thrown off, how fast and how do we recalibrate, get back to our baseline. But when we're down there, back to the emotional basement, when we're down there, all we can have is negative thoughts. So when we're in a heightened state, when we are worried, when we are stressed, we can only have distorted thoughts. We can have a good, healthy, happy thoughts when we're an emotional mess. So if you're anxious, fearful, or desperate while you're trying to manifest, which most people are, you'll interpret everything as proof that it's not working. I did a video on my YouTube about this, and I used the example of when I decided to take a big leap and start my business, and I had to throw a big chunk of money at it, like a big chunk of money. You better believe I started getting anxious, fearful, and desperate. But I had surrounded myself, thank goodness, with very positive mentors and people. I knew it's what I wanted to do. And of course I was going to be scared. I've never done anything. None of my family's done anything like this before. But I was aware of those little gremlins that were going to come up, the negative thoughts, because I was feeling that. But I knew if I just relaxed and I breathed through it, of course I was normal. I was making sure that I was taken care of and safe, and I wasn't going to put myself in some dire situation, but it was definitely pushing up against my edge, and it was the unknown. And I actually, a couple years later, ended up falling flat on my face. The worst case scenario did end up happening later, but I got back up and you just continue to go. But anyways, you never not want to take the risk because you're afraid of what's going to happen. Say, even if the worst case scenario happens, I'm going to be okay. This is something I really, really want. Go for it. Take the leap. But I had taken that big leap, and of course my body was thrown into a dysregulated state, all of these distorted thoughts. And I remember I was going to work and I hit my wheel on the curb. I never hit the curb, but I was just in a state, and I don't know if I was just obviously I was nervous and anxious and thinking, oh, maybe that's a sign. Oh my God, what if I pop my tire? I didn't, but I like scratched the rim, and it was a pretty new car at that point. And I was like, oh, of course this happened. It's a sign. I made the wrong decision. I shouldn't be doing this. This is a sign from the universe that you need to stop doing what you're doing, and you're being punished for that big decision you made, all this stuff. So just like what I said before, when we're anxious, fearful, or depressed, when we're trying to manifest, everything that goes wrong or anything, it will be perceived as a threat and that things aren't working. We can't afford that, especially when we're trying to like manifest and get out of our comfort zone. But when we are regulated, we can think clearly, we can act intentionally, and we can stay consistent, calm, smooth, not big ups, not big downs. Like emotionally turbulent people, we all know those people that love them some emotionally, like they look for the emotional turbulence, whether it be through the shows they watch, the movies, their relationships. We all know that couple that loves to argue and fight all the time, or even a friend that likes, or a coworker that likes to pick an argument or complain. They don't feel safe in a regulated state. They feel safe in dysregulation. And so when we are able to regulate, we can think more clearly and more intentionally, and we will stay consistent because that feels good. And consistency is what builds our results, specifically emotional consistency. And remember, we talked about in previous episodes that our emotional state is really our vibration, the law of vibration. And the vibration we're putting off will dictate what we attract. So the law of attraction is a secondary law of the universe. The law of vibration is a primary law. And however we're vibrating or feeling, because our feelings are emotional states, our consistent emotional states, is really our consistent vibrational state. And whatever vibration we persist in and we frequent, that is the frequency we will be on, and those are the kind of results we'll attract to us. So always remember that your emotions, the words we use for emotions, happy, sad, excited, mad, are just the conscious awareness of the vibrational state we're in. Your emotions are your vibration, and your vibration will dictate what you attract to you. And so in manifestation language, your vibration is your dominant emotional state. And so we want that consistent emotional state to be in alignment with how we want to live, how we want to feel, because that's what will attract to us. Moving on to looking at it more psychologically, your emotional baseline will determine what you notice, that reticular activating system, what opportunities you take, how confident you show up, and whether you persist or you give up, you quit and run away. Just like I mentioned my example of going all in on my business and making that big leap. I could have very well turned around, and trust me, a lot of me wanted to, but I had put myself on the hook, and I'm so grateful that I persisted and I didn't quit, because what's that saying? Quitters never win and winners never quit. Hello. So let's try not to have our baseline be fear. I mean, we will feel fearful at times, but make that an exception to the rule. But if you've been living in fear, and there's no shame in that, because hello, it's all around us all the time. If your baseline is fear, you will attract more proof of that. And you will be right, by the way. You will have plenty of evidence, and you will win on a jury of 12. You will fight for your limitations and fight for why you are right. Because remember, we just want to be in this safety and certainty, and our brain will give us feedback to match our beliefs already. So if we are in a fearful state, or if we're believing a certain thing, anything is just going to make that stronger and reinforce that. And anything that doesn't, we're going to push off as not true. That's why people really don't change their minds. You know, I've said this so many times. People, they have been raised a certain way. We all have been programmed, myself included. Hello. Like, we have all been programmed to think certain ways, and we have comfort in that. It is very rare that we change our mind about very deep-rooted beliefs, especially when it comes to, I always say the two categories, politics and religion. Unless you question what you have known, like the fabric of your being, you will never change. And it is not, I don't blame anybody, by the way. I will never forget when I started to really question, like it happened slowly, like I just moved away from my programming. But the hardest part, it's easy to kind of move away and just say, I'm not really into that anymore. But to take on a new belief system is like the tectonic shifting of plates that you don't want to mess with. And I certainly didn't. I think, God, it had to have been back in like 2017. I listened to a podcast about this. God, who was it? What was the guy? I forgot. If I think of it, I'll say it. But he was talking about the universe and the new discoveries of quantum physics and possibly like there's no God. And I was doubled over in fetal position. I was like, what if there's no God? What does that mean? And I was like, it made me sick to my stomach to like even entertain. But I was like, I'll have an open mind. But it took me on this trip of like a week of contemplating, like, what is my life experience? What if he's right? But I came to a conclusion that didn't feel right to me, genuinely. Like when I really challenged it, it didn't make sense. There was not enough proof. Like there was so much proof for God, and I do believe in God. But to even just challenge and question that, it was, physiologically uncomfortable. And a lot of people don't want to do that. So that was a long tangent of when we are in fear, when we're doing something new. It might not be those big topics in your life that you're questioning, and you never have to, but you know what I mean? Like that's why most people don't, because they don't want to go through that. And I don't blame them unless they have some life-shattering, event that turns it upside down, like an alien visited and they're like, oh, I believe in aliens now. You know what I mean? But okay, side tangent. If your baseline is fear, everything you attract will be further proof of that fear and why you're right. But if your baseline is calm and certainty, you will attract more of that and you will be more clear. And that is the goal, to be more clear-headed in this whole game. And so I came up with these few examples. I really love these about how just like other systems and organs operate, our body is, a big organ. Our body's a collection of organs that work together. But think of like machines and airplanes. Every machine, and think of your body as a machine, works with precision perfectly well. That's the goal. But it has to be regulated. If anything goes wrong, like the whole system collapses, including our body. So let's look at the human heart. Research on heart rate variability shows that people with more regulated nervous systems handle stress better and make better decisions. And so when we do that, when we have that regulated nervous system, the heart seems to be healthier. It beats with precise timing. But arrhythmia is the literal dysregulation of electrical signals. Arrhythmia is literally dysregulation. Like when your heart palpitates, when you have anxiety, when you're dysregulated, your heart can skip a beat. Your heart experiences arrhythmia. It's the dysregulation of electrical signals in your body. And what happens when the heartbeat, the rhythm is lost? Number one, blood flow becomes inefficient. Number two, organs are deprived of oxygen because our heart is the one pumping blood and oxygen to all of our organs. And then eventually our system collapses. And we don't want that. Heart failure, heart attack, heart disease, all this stuff. It's like, that's rough. And so when the body's dysregulated, it affects the heart. Then the heart's dysregulated. The heart does not power through. It fails. It will fail. It's not like, I'm going to prove this wrong. No, it's like, screw this. Like, it's just going to fail under that pressure, under that stress. And so just like our heart requires that rhythm, manifestation requires rhythm, consistency, coherence. We hear about that heart-brain coherence. Basically, like emotional arrhythmia, it leads to exhaustion, not creation. You can't manifest with precision from a dysregulated state. Again. So going into this, I love this analogy. When we have emotional turbulence, it does not produce smooth outcomes. Just like in airplanes, so modern aircraft rely on gyroscopes and like flight computers to regulate the pitch and the roll and all this, how the plane moves and functions. It's the system that calibrates by paying attention, those computers, paying attention to the trajectory of the plane and the stability of the plane. But if those systems, they lose that calibration, the plane overcorrects, you experience that turbulence, the oscillations increase, and then control is lost eventually, God forbid. We don't want that. Just like you don't want to be in an airplane with a pilot that can't regulate or navigate turbulence and regulate the system once it's been dysregulated through weather and turbulence, you ass doesn't want to be in a body that is dysregulated. Like, you're the pilot. You are the pilot of this body, which is the airplane, metaphorically speaking. And your soul and your spirit does not want to be a passenger in your funky ass plane, because you're the pilot. Your conscious awareness is the pilot. You're in charge. You're the captain now. You are full, and we are not taught this, but you have the power to choose which thoughts you get emotionally involved with. We're not here to control our thoughts. We can't possibly control our thoughts or the outside world, right? There's a lot of things that aren't in our control. That's why we say the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Give me the serenity to accept the things I can't change. We can only control our experience of things. Outside things will happen that are not in our control because we're not by ourselves in this physical universe. This is a co-creation process. I always think about Michael Jordan. He was the best of the best, and he could have manifested until he was blue in the face to get the win on that one season that he didn't win. If you haven't seen that documentary, The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, it's fantastic. But he had teammates, unfortunately, joking, but he was at the mercy of his teammates. Like, they did good, obviously, but they did not win that championship that one year. But no, because he was doing his best, but it just didn't work. Like, the team couldn't pull it together for whatever reason, right? There's forces we don't understand. But what we can always count on is manifesting our experience of it, and if it's going to be good or bad. And I think that's what a lot of people get confused with. Like, they think they're going to manifest specific outcomes and they got to control and bend the universe to their will. It's like, honey, you ain't by yourself. There's a lot of things that we can't see that are at play. But no matter what happens outside, you can manifest peace regardless of the circumstances. When it comes to manifestation and reality creation, some people go off and they truly believe that they can affect everything. They're going to die someday. Sorry, newsflash. We live in a world of duality. There's ups and downs. There's positive and negative, light and dark. And we will experience all of it while we are here in this manifested duality, universe of duality. All good does not exist here. Oneness does not exist here. It's a concept in the mind, but not in the physical world. But it's an inner game, right? Like, manifestation really is an inner game. We can manifest peace 100%, oneness inside, but outside, that can be that can vary. But I don't know what got me on that tangent. But anyways, back to the airplane. When it loses control, we don't want to be in a state. We don't want to be in an airplane with a pilot who can't control it, just like your soul doesn't want to be in a body where your consciousness, your awareness, your attention can't control your emotions and your thoughts. You can. Again, we're not taught this, but you're learning now. You're learning today, okay? You can do it. We have those intrusive thoughts, but change it, shift it. Ooh, and I'm going to do a video somebody mentioned, like, don't bypass, don't do that positive or toxic positivity or whatever. I know what they mean. Once you are emotionally activated, you cannot think your way into a positive. Like, your body is going haywire. You have to pause and let that 90 seconds, right? As we learned with Jill Bolte Taylor and emotionally last 90 seconds, let it pass, pattern interrupt, stop that momentum before you start, desperately seeking for a new thought. Because as we mentioned, when you in that emotional basement, you ain't gonna have no good thoughts. You gotta let it pass, let the emotional wave pass, then reach for a new thought. Or if you can't breathe through it, pattern interrupt it, shift your attention, do jumping jacks, like splash cold water on your face. Like, you must interrupt that emotional wave that keeps repeating, because nothing good's going to come from it. Now I lost my train of thought, but it's going to pop up like toast. You are in control. You are in control of your emotional state, even if you think you're not. Take a moment. If you are dysregulated and going just haywire, it's like, when somebody is hysterical. This happened to me one time. I was so frightened. I was hysterical, like hyperventilating, and my mom slapped me. When in movies, when people slap someone when they're in shock, that's like what you got to do yourself. You got to slap the shit out of yourself. You got to stop. You got to stop it. You're having an emotional panic attack, if not an actual panic attack. You got to be slapped or take some Xanax. I'm joking, but sometimes not really, but we're in control. So back to the plane analogy, when the system loses calibration, right? It overcorrects. And that's the same for us too. When we lose emotional calibration, we overcorrect. We start doing shit and making bad decisions. The oscillations increase, right? The turbulence, emotional turbulence increases, and we lose control. Emotional shutdown, breakdown, a little mentee B, if you will. So the airplane does not fly faster. You do not move faster when you're chaotic. So a plane does not fly faster when it's chaotic. It flies safely by being stable. Same with you. You will get closer to your goals by being emotionally stable, right? And that is why people who are manifesting, like, they're just messes, dude. Like, they can't pay their bills. I've been there. When I have fallen into these, traps of when I am goal seeking and manifesting, these are just words we use. But like when I'm trying to intentionally change and I am a wackadoodle with my emotions, oh my God, it just gets worse. It's like a shitstorm. That's why a lot of people in the manifestation world look like nutbags, but this is why. If they're doing the right things. I'm not poo-pooing manifestation. It's my jam. But emotional regulation needs to be integrated 100% by everybody. So you can't manifest direction. You can't manifest like a consistent direction. And I'll just say this. Yes, people manifest when they're like chaotic, but it will not last. They will crash and burn and it won't be consistent and they will lose it. I'm talking about constant, sustainable success, peace, and regulation. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. So you can't manifest while you're emotionally oscillating. Stability creates that straight trajectory of where you're headed. And then that dysregulation will only create turbulence and slowing down and putting you behind and making worse decisions. My God, you can fly 10 steps back after you took a few steps forward. But we don't rise, right? We don't continue to succeed by forcing. Again, we're going to stop and regulate and then choose the next thought to get on that higher vibration. So we're not going to try to force or bypass or do that positive, toxic positivity. We rise and we continue to grow by stabilizing our nervous system. All right. And then the last example is think about like big industrial machines. They rely on regulators and thermostats, pressure valves, and cooling systems. But when when a big machine's regulation fails, friction increases, parts warp, and the machine seizes and breaks. If you've ever had like a washing machine that like it's on its last leg, or a computer who's on its last leg, it'll just shut down. It'll just absolutely crash. And our most catastrophic failures and in machines, they don't come from a lack of power. Honestly, like in the most powerful machines, those big failures and like shutdowns, they don't come from a lack of power. It's from too much unregulated power and energy. Like when the energy doesn't have free range to go through all of the systems and circuit boards, it's like when it's clogged, that's when a machine combusts. When something is not flowing freely in the engine, and when you're tense and tight and your nervous system is dysregulated, the same is for you. And so the machine, our bodies, like it goes into this over effort, urgency. We can become obsessed. And that ain't penthouse frequency. Those are lower vibes. Not to judge ourselves, but it is what it is. And we can get out of it. So systems, actual machines, they start to overheat. There's burnout, system failure. It's not a motivation problem, and it's not a problem with the strategy we're using. Like mindset, affirmations, all this stuff works. And so when it doesn't work, it ain't the structure or the system or the practice. It's us, bobos. It's us. We're the ones that are not letting the energy regulate and go through our system properly. So just imagine trying to build a life, like your dream life on the outside. Like imagine trying to build your dream life while your internal system is overheating. Ain't gonna happen. A machine will not produce its best products when it's shutting down and steam's coming out of it in flames and it's like the circuit breaker's out. It's not gonna produce, it's gonna shut down, just like you. So when we're emotionally dysregulated, we do that overthinking. We overspend. You overcompensate, right? You overspend, you start buying things you don't need to. You overwork, we overreact. We just sabotage everything we're trying to build. And unfortunately, we find ourselves in those situations. We're trying to change our life and then it gets even worse. Sheesh, I've been there. However, when we are moving into body safety, breathing, calming, stopping the whole Titanic from running into the iceberg, just stopping. If you are spinning out, you've tried everything, stop. I remember one time I was like probably desperate and I wanted to film something. Maybe it was like some sort of video that I had to put out. I don't remember, but I will never forget. I was so stressed and dysregulated. I tried like 5 times to start the video. And I was getting so frustrated. And this voice in me said, just Carla, stop. You are not going to produce anything good. I turned off all the studio lights. I just sat there in my office chair and I just got quiet. And in my mind, I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to do this. I said, Carla, if you lose this opportunity, you lose the opportunity. It's not worth your peace. So I just stopped. I shut everything off and I was like, I'm not going to do this to myself. I probably took a nap or something, but that's hard to do because all the voices are going to scream like, this is the last thing you should be doing. And I was like, no, that's my ego talking. It's the first thing I need to be doing, regulating the nervous system. That's what we all need to do before we start taking action. Start from a place of peace and regulation, not urgency and fear. So when our body feels safe, we have those like downloads. The creativity increases, our patience increases, and our intuition sharpens. That's really important. So we just stop forcing. We're more in alignment. Things just start flowing. When we just release and surrender and let go, we're not like giving up on our dreams. We're just giving up on the attachment, that desperation energy. We're going to calm first, then move. So manifestation is not about intensity. It's about regulation. It's about coherence. Joe Dispenza talks about that. The brain, the heart-brain coherence, the brain-heart. When you can think about your dream life and your heart is so calm and peaceful thinking about it. Not like super excited and amazing. Like, yes, when we first think of something, feel that excitement of getting it and then make it normal. Neville Goddard talks about make it your regular everyday state. Get into the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It's already done. How would you feel? You would feel normal. Make it normal to yourself. Your heart beating normally. It's just a regular day. You're very grateful that you have it, but you don't fear losing it. You're not desperate. You already have it. Get into that coherent state where your thoughts are in coherence with your feelings. And it's smooth and calm, no turbulence. Even if it's good turbulence, you don't want that. So for you, right, the truth for big dreamers, if you have those big dreams, your nervous system must be able to hold big outcomes. You got to stretch. It's just like self-image. If you can't see yourself doing it, it will never happen. And so if your nervous system can't contain with regularity and calm and consistency your dream life, it's just going to keep short-circuiting. So visualize, think about your life and how you would feel so peaceful, calm, and regulated in it. Just soak it up. Again, gratitude, but not urgent, anxious, worried, competitive, this competition mentality. You don't want that. That's fear-based. So you're not attracting what you want, you're attracting what your system feels safe sustaining. I'll say that again. You are not attracting what you want, you're attracting what your system feels safe sustaining. Regulation. So it's all about that regulation. And when we're regulated, it creates peace, it creates clarity and stability. So when we're building, when we're making decisions, and when we're expanding to heights we've never experienced before, having that peace, clarity, and stability is everything. So I'll end it with this. Before you ask the universe for more, before you start saying, where is this? Where is that? When is my time going to come? First, teach your body how to feel safe with it, period. So I want you to share with me, I don't care if you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, I think you could leave comments, ask questions, or share what stood out to you. If you are somebody who is, using affirmations, trying to shift your physical state or trying to achieve goals, and you really want to upgrade your life and make some changes, you want to make those changes because you're not happy. Yeah, we've established that. But you want to get into a regulated state before you start taking actions, even before you start doing your vision boards and before you do your affirmations. It's like, get into a regulated state. It's not about perfection. It's just about paying attention. Don't be desperate. Don't be needy. Get totally calm and peaceful with what you want. Regulate your nervous system. Feel calm. Do breathing as much as you can. And yeah, you will be fearful. You will be scared, but you can continually just recalibrate. You can do that through EFT tapping. Again, I have really great recalibration EFT tapping. That's a part of the Vibration and Frequency Masterclass. I will put the link below for you. But tell me how that was for you. Are you emotionally dysregulated? Do you find yourself getting stuck trying to achieve your goals and blame yourself? introducing some regulation techniques, breathing. There's a lot of free resources online, but yeah, tell me what stood out for you. I'm so happy to have you here. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about because it's something that I struggled with for a really long time. But we will continue on. I hope you enjoyed that. Love you so much. Happy to have you here. We will see you in the next episode.